Hello and welcome everyone to the latest rendition of our weekly server fantasy series, the CUFL Recap. The outcomes in Week 9 of the CUFL have yet again been decided in dramatic fashion. These 4 matchups we have on tap this week were chock full of drama, storyline, and impact, as all but 2 of the teams changed their rankings as a result of this week. Speaking of the rankings, this week resulted in new teams moving to the first and last place spots of the league. So to reveal where each of our teams ended up, let's break down the big winners and losers of Week 9 of the CUFL. Our first matchup featured 2 4-4 teams going at it, as both Finio and Rish were looking to break away from 500 and avoid a losing record. The team who proved they deserved the 5-4 record ended up being Finio, as their 128 points put them over Rish for a 21-point victory. Finio's solid performance in Week 9 was a result of Caleb Williams' impressive stat line against the Cincinnati Bengals, aka the worst defense in the league. Williams totaled 38 points this week, and that was too much for an underperforming Rish team to handle. Speaking of Rish, it was a week they'd rather not look back on, as their bench players totally outplayed the starting lineup. As you can see from the graphic, an optimal lineup for Rish would have been a 53-point swing for the team, as their mismanagement rubbed salt in the wound of their loss. Rish hopes next time they can better attain the optimal score and the potential they showed this week. For our second matchup, we have the Carolina Cornballs getting throttled by Jersh, giving Jersh a hugely important win for the standings. Jersh has been under some heavy fire as of late, with them squeaking out low-scoring wins against teams having an off week. But the team scoring consistent points week in and week out is something you have to respect from them, especially when they've shown the ability to score 154 points like they have this week. Not to mention, Jersh has the current control of the number 1 seed and a league-best 7-2 record. As for the Cornballs, you just can't help but feel bad for them at this point, as despite being a very solid team on paper, it always seems like the opponent has their best game against them. The team put up a pretty decent score of 122 points this week, but it's pretty hard to win when 2 of your opponent's players score 38 and 43 points respectively. Like, come on. The haunting of the last place spot has finally reached the Cornballs, as they now find themselves at the worst record in the league at 2-7. The team hopes they can flip a switch and turn success on the scoreboard into success in the win column.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose the game.
For our third matchup, we had an unbelievable outcome between the Black Boulder Barbarians and the Bayside Birdbrains, as the bottom-seeded Barbarians shocked the world and toppled the number 1 seeded Bayside Birdbrains. The return of the Barbarians quarterback Lamar Jackson proved massive for the struggling team, as his highly impressive performance and 25 fantasy points led the team to a mustached and mean-tempered win in Week 9. Additionally, the Barbarians have invited a new face to the hut in Noah Sebastian, rebranding as the Bad Omen Barbarians. This team, now fueled by 2 straight wins, wants things that money can't buy, as the price is paying for the rest of the league to make things and their season right. As for the Birdbrains, it was a slightly subpar performance compared to their usual scoring marks, as a decent overall effort wasn't enough, and the Bills baby brain babble better beak in Week 9. As the team drops to the 2 seed, the Birdbrains hope to sustain continued success down the stretch, though there has to be some concern about the team considering they lost what was the bottom-seeded team.
Looks like you and I are in-laws, eh, Squidward?
But that's impossible. If Snelly didn't win, then...
And the winner is
I can't believe it. My purebred, which cost me $1,700, lost to a rock.
Alright, and before you sound off on me, I get it. I know what you're thinking, right? You're thinking, wow, the number 8 seed? Upsetting the number 1 seed, and that's somehow not the absolute cinema game of the week? And to that I say yes, it absolutely deserves the absolute cinema game of the week slot. But because I am a spiteful man and a sore loser, that slot is getting reserved for my matchup. So instead, our final matchup was a low-scoring slug-out between the Red 40 Ragers and my Columbus Clankers that came down to the waning minutes of Monday Night Football to decide a winner. Neither of the teams performed exactly as hoped this week, as running back Tyrone Tracy and wide receiver DK Metcalf highlighted two huge duds for each respective team. Although the Clankers were a bit more consistent throughout the week, Rangers star running back Christian McCaffrey scored 34 points, evening the playing field of the matchup. After the Sunday slate, it was just a single-point differential separating the two teams, meaning the winner would be decided by whoever's final player scored more. Would it be Clankers running back Javonte Williams or Rangers wide receiver George Pickens? As Monday Night Football and the fantasy matchup reached its final act, it seemed like anyone's guess as to who would come out on top. The Cowboys' offense was rather unproductive during the majority of the game, leaving both players with single-digit point totals. However, during Dallas's final possession of the game, the Cowboys trailed by multiple scores, forcing them to throw the ball in desperation mode. As a result, it led to George Pickens picking up points on the final drive and putting the Rangers in the lead. But as the Cowboys moved into enemy territory, 6 points from their offense seemed more and more likely. A touchdown by either player would win either team the matchup. So would the touchdown scorer be A, Javonte Williams giving my Columbus Clankers the win, B, George Pickens giving the Red 40 Rangers the win, or C, another Dallas Cowboys player? So if you pick D, nobody, you'd be correct. Because my running back Javonte Williams, just go ahead and run the clip. He fumbles the football. He fumbles.
Extra men on the rush. Javonte Williams, strong tackle. Will Johnson, just like that. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. A winner, just like that. We'll be right back on our Price is Right. Don't go away.
So congrats to Finio, Jersh, the Bad Omen Barbarians, and the Red 40 Ragers on getting a win this week. So now let's take a look ahead at our Week 10 matchups. We have the Columbus Clankers taking on the Bad Omen Barbarians, the Red 40 Ragers taking on the Carolina Cornballs, the Bayside Birdbrains taking on Rich, and Jersh taking on Finio. So this week proved that the last month and a half of the regular season are going to be very exciting and unpredictable. I continue to say this, but it continues to ring true that any given fantasy team can win any given fantasy matchup. And with playoffs on the horizon, each win is going to be so much more important from here on out. So how will you guide your team to some extra important wins? Find out next time on the next rendition of the CUFL Recap.